There we go. If you have a little pop-up that comes up, then please just press OK on that. It's just to let you know that recording is in progress, etc. So good afternoon, or evening, or morning, or wherever you are in the world, because I know we have lots of different people here. Please be aware the session is being recorded, as I said, and the recording will actually be sent to you tomorrow, along with any other materials shared today. So therefore, you don't have to worry about that too much. Please ensure that you've selected everyone as the recipient in the chat box. And feel free to type in any questions as the session is running. Emma may or may not answer the questions directly straight away because obviously she is presenting, but there is a 10-minute question and answer session, or maybe more, depending on how long the questions are, at the end. Please ensure that your microphone is muted throughout the presentation until the question and answer session at the end, of course. I must make you aware that you're not allowed to share the resources outside of your centre, as this is a breach of terms and conditions set out by Hodder Education. Apart from that, I hope you enjoy the webinar, and if you have any problems, then please do put them in the chat box. You can address them directly to me if you have an issue, or you can put it in the chat box just normally, and I will try and help you out. Thanks very much, and it's over to Dr. Emma Shaw for the Environmental Systems and Societies for the IB Diploma.
Okay, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this second webinar that we've done for this new rewrite of the curriculum and the book. Okay, so let's just get on with it. Oh, hang on. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is our author team. As you can see, we are a very diverse group of educators. We come from all over the world, including Trinidad and Tobago, the Netherlands, India, Thailand, and basically we are all very experienced educators in the IB with ESS. So we've all come together to work on this book. Okay, so just before I just before I introduce myself, on this slide, there is a YouTube link, and that is the link to the first webinar that I did. And that's got slightly different information than this one. This one is kind of the second in the series. So if you want to also look at the first one, you can click on that link when you get it. Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm Dr. Emma Shaw. I'm currently based in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And I've been teaching IB ESS for around 13 years now. Prior to that, I was a university lecturer at Manchester Metropolitan University in the UK, teaching ecology and conservation and environmental science. I also have a PhD in spider behaviour in agriculture, and I am also quite a prolific researcher and publisher of my research. Okay, so enough about me and more on the book. Okay, so this is an image of the book, the QR code in the corner there. You can scan that and it will take you directly to being able to actually order the book, but that will also be shown at the end during questions, so don't feel you have to do it right away. So what we have available is the course book in print, which you can see the front cover of there. We also have this available as an ebook, and then we have a Boost online package that goes with it, which has real world interactive examples and 10 knowledge tests per topic. So it's quite a comprehensive set of information, and I will be showing you some of that content during this presentation. Okay, so today what I'm going to be doing is I will quickly go over with you some of the major syllabus changes that are happening with ESS. We will look at some of the features and the layout of the book, just to let you familiarize yourself with it. And then I'm going to unpack some of the content in the book. So there'll be a section on sort of how to use the book, so some of the features, how they are linked together, etc. And then I'm going to do a little bit on a workflow around water scarcity that I have developed. I've then got some information about the HL content and activities, and then a little bit of a teaching plan. I've developed what will be my very first lesson, and I'm going to share that with you. And then we have time for questions. Okay, so overall changes to the ESS curriculum. As you can see here on the left, this is the syllabus content broken down into the different topics. As you can see, the topics themselves have not changed from the previous iteration of this. However, what has happened is we have an addition of these foundational concepts here. So the perspective, systems, and sustainability as the initial topic 1, and these run throughout the entirety of the course. We also have here at the end the addition of the HL lenses. There is HL content for each topic, as you can see here with the HL hours, and then we have the specific lenses which are actually applied throughout both the SL and the HL content. ESS is now included in the Collaborative Sciences project. Formally, I know a lot of us have probably continued to keep our students in what currently is the Group 4 project, but now it's an official part. And this I'm quite excited about. There is now a group work option for the IA. So students are able to do group data collection. They then obviously have to do their own work with the data, but this is going to help us when we've got larger cohorts of students. This is all centered around this image here that the IB have created, and they're very much relating all of these things, so the concepts, the content, etc., to active engagement. So an encouragement of students to actually go out and do things rather than just learning about it. So throughout the book, there are lots of different things that will sort of signpost you to if you want to do this with your students or that with your students. Okay, so other things that there is now clear guidance on the inquiry process. So we have picked out parts of the book and the syllabus and developed it in terms of the inquiry process. So designing and exploring, collecting and processing data, and then the concluding and evaluating, and they come as little pop-out boxes that help you determine what to do. It's the same with the tools. So we have experimental techniques, mathematics, technology, systems, and models. And there are some specific elements that are in there that you are recommended to go through with your students to allow them to develop that inquiry process. And then on top of that, there is the specific guidance for the different ATLs. So our thinking skills, research skills, etc. And these are the things that will create the building blocks for the students to be able to learn the tools that they need to develop inquiry. Okay, so there are some changes to assessment in this new rewrite. The SL assessments have stayed the same, with the SL paper being 25% paper for paper 1, paper 2 is still 50%. For the HL option, paper 1 is now 2 hours long and worth 30%, and paper 2 is a 2.5-hour paper, again still worth 50%, but that means for the HL the exam is a total of 80%. Therefore, it makes sense that the internal assessment is kind of the opposite, obviously. So for your SL, it's still worth 25%, and with the 10 hours, HL, they still get the 10 hours, but it's only worth 20% of their final grade. Now, the criteria have changed. We now have 6 criteria. I'm not going to go into that today. I think that you can unpack that yourself. They're relatively straightforward. A little bit of shuffling of some of the things that were previously in there. You'll be happy to see that the application has disappeared from this, which is something that certainly my students really struggled with. Okay, so on to the features within the book. We've tried to include in here features to all of the relevant things that we think you will need as an educator, and students will need to help guide them through the syllabus. So we have things like the concepts. So our 3 concepts that we have, so the perspective, systems, and sustainability, they will be in these pop-out boxes where we are relating the different concepts to all sorts of different parts of the syllabus. We have TOK. We recognize that TOK is something that isn't everybody's strength, and guidance on where to include this within your syllabus and within your teaching is very useful. So we have included that again as a little pop-out box, guiding you to relevant TOK ideas. This is a box that I really like, common mistakes. There are a number that there are within our subject. I will show you one of them later, but we give guidance on these are the things that students commonly make a mistake in, and this is how to avoid that pitfall. We have real world examples. These were previously called, wow, why can't I remember what they were previously called? Anyway, we're using real world examples to talk about case studies, and there you go, that we have throughout the book. And these are within the SL and HL content. And then this is one of the aspects that is also supported in Boost, where there are a number of additional real world examples for each of the topics. And then we have links. So this allows you to easily navigate your way throughout the book, linking to the different topics and aspects that link to that specific subject that you are looking at the time, which, considering the complexity of some of the aspects of the course, this is going to be very useful for both teachers and students. Okay, so here are our core topics. The book itself covers topics 1 to 8, and topic 9 is an extension of the HL lenses, and this is available online. This is covering the major concepts in each of the lenses, but the majority of the links of those concepts are actually embedded within the book. So it's mainly just the development of ideas such as donut economics, the different areas of ethics, etc., that are covered in the HL lens extension, which is online. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpack some of the content and show you how you can use the book. I've done this very much in mind of thinking, what would I want to know sort of when I know that I'm getting this book somewhere towards the end of this year, and I'm going to have to prepare some of the lessons. So I've kept that in mind while I've been doing this. So each of the subtopics begins with the guiding questions for that subtopic and then the syllabus content. These are taken directly from the IB DP ESS guide. And they just guide you through the different areas that will be unpacked within that subtopic. As you can see here, for each subtopic, you have the SL content and then the HL content, and then you would move on to the next subtopic. Excuse me. Okay, so one of the things that we have done within the book is we have tried to include different ways of looking at some of these complex issues. We know that a lot of the students who take this course are EAL learners. Certainly myself, I would say around about 80% of my class is usually EAL. And often the written aspects of this are quite hard for them to get a grip with. So including images, etc., is one of the things that we have tried to do to help those students be able to unpack some of that content a little bit easier. It also helps put some of those bits of the content into context of the rest of the elements of the topic, or in fact the course itself. We've also tried to really reinforce ideas and link them, as I said, with that feature. So here we have an aspect which is in the atmospheric systems topic, and this is talking about the formation and destruction of ozone. So as you can see, it talks a little bit about the formation and destruction, and then it talks about this idea of the steady state equilibrium. Now, at this point, students are on topic 6, which, depending on how you're teaching it, could be in year 2 of their studying, in which case the teaching of steady state equilibrium was probably quite a long time ago. So in the book, what we have done is we've given really explicit links. So we've said here that talking about where you can find that information about maintaining equilibrium, there are 2 different links there. One of them is to the laws of thermodynamics and those aspects of how energy is sort of maintained and cycled throughout our trophic systems, etc. So it's very easy for the students to be able to link those parts of the syllabus, which I think is very important, just because there are so many of them. It's easy for them to forget that these things are all directly linked. We also, as I said earlier, have unpacked some of the common mistakes. So there are some parts of the syllabus where mistakes are quite common. Ozone is one of those issues. I just put this image here so that, again, you can see that we've got a range of different ways of showing what is happening with this issue. But some of the common mistakes that we have found is the mistake of actually confusing stratospheric and tropospheric ozone, one of which is obviously highly beneficial to us and one of which is not. My students certainly regularly get those 2 confused with each other. So we highlight that within the book. We also highlight here this idea that a number of students often mistake that the ozone hole is the cause of global warming. So we address that here as well. So as you can see, we've tried to make sure that any of these things are made very clear to the students. We've also put in quite a lot of skills practice. So we've gone back through those different elements, so the skills, the ATLs, etc., and we directly unpack those. So here we've got a mathematics box. This is one of the tools that there is sort of suggested within the IB guide. And here we actually have an exercise for students to do. So these skills-based exercises are very good for reinforcing ideas, but also for practice. Within the exam, students will be required to do some level of calculations. They will need their calculators within those exams. And I find that sometimes this can be a little panic spot for students. They seem to forget all maths when they go in there. So throughout the book, we've put a number of different elements for them to practice. As you can see there are a number of different activities for them to do. So the calculation tells them how to do it. And then And then it allows them here, so it tells them to plot this into a graph using Excel. So this not only allows them to develop those graphing skills, but it also helps them to visualize what the actual relationship is between these things. One thing that I've found very useful, and I actually went through past exam papers and discovered that more often than not, there is at least one question that asks them to describe data in a graph. So in situations like this, I would actually have my students then do a written description of those data in the graph so they can develop some of that specific vocabulary that they would need. Okay, so here I have unpacked a little bit of a workflow. I decided to look at water scarcity, which is topic 4.2. So here is a little activator activity that I would do at the beginning of this subtopic. I would flip the classroom just purely because I don't often have sessions that are long enough for me to be able to get them to watch a full documentary or something like that. So I tend to flip my classroom. This is a link to a documentary. It's all about the issue in the Balearic Islands relating to the conflict between the tourism in places like Ibiza and the people who live there who are already in quite a significant state of water scarcity. One of the issues is that often during peak of tourism season, the locals actually end up with no water. So one of the things within the YouTube clip is this 4-minute challenge. I would challenge my students to try to take a 4-minute shower and to kind of reflect a little bit on how difficult or easy that is within their life. I would then also get my students to record a daily water journal. So when do they use it? How much do they drink? How much do they waste, etc. In the class, I would then get them to discuss their feelings about the documentary, think about the different perspectives on the issue. So the perspective from the tourist, from the hotel owners, from the local communities, from the government, etc. And the HL students could also consider the economic issue that is driving this problem of the extremely lucrative tourism season that they have within this region. I would then look at types of water scarcity and get them to look at some named examples. I like to use this term quite frequently because it is the term that comes up during the exams, and then they know if it comes up with this that they need to be including some kind of real world example in there. So in the book, we have a number of different real world examples that we have developed. So we've looked at, for physical water scarcity, we've looked at an example in Saudi Arabia. And then for economic, we've included 2 very different examples. So we've got Flint, Michigan, which is obviously in the US, and then we have Mexico City. So we've got 2 very different economically developed countries there that have all sorts of different social issues. And the economic issues there are quite different, but obviously result in the same thing, which is issues related to the availability of clean water. Here now I would like to show you the Boost content for this. So this is the Boost real world example that has been created for this water scarcity topic. I'm very excited to show you this. I have also worked on the Boost content for this book, and there are some very exciting real world examples in there. As you can see, this is not the same as the real world examples that we have within the book. We've tried to make sure that these are additional examples for you. And as you can see, they are interactive. So each Boost example will have these 4 different tabs at the top. Look just shows you the image and gets you to think about it. Discover This gives you a number of different bits of information. So the I's here, I've obviously clicked on this one, and this is the information. This is talking about water deficits in California. So we've got a number of different areas here where we've got specific information, and then we've got a question mark box here to click on, which will give questions that students can answer. And you can see here with the Analyze tab, I've clicked on one of the questions, and it allows them to reveal the answer when they've had an opportunity to think about it. We then have Practice tab number 4. Which is exam style questions. And as you can see here, you can either complete these online within the Boost platform, or you can actually print those out as well. So you could have your students print these questions out, and then you could actually look at and comment on their questions and how well they've been able to answer them. We also apply the context throughout these subtopics, and for perspectives here, I would pick out who is mostly impacted by the issue. I would also pick out things like the financial aspects, perspectives, and perspectives related to access. Who has access? Is access available to all? Are there some minorities within communities that don't have the same access, and why is that the case? In the systems, I would look at whether looking at how systems can be used to determine areas that can become at risk for water scarcity, and also looking at how predictive models can be used to represent this system so they can help to develop systems to kind of mitigate against some of these issues. Then for sustainability, we would look at abstraction and desalination, and how these processes can be made more sustainable, and how they are actually helping the people within those areas be able to have access to clean water. I would also pick out from that, for the HL lens, I would get them to look at the economics of the abstraction and desalination of water. These processes are quite costly, and therefore they're only really available to some countries. Then for an HL expansion, I would have my students look at the issue of water scarcity in the Middle East. There's obviously a lot going on at the moment. And water is becoming, or certainly is, quite a major issue in this area at the moment. I would have my students brainstorm some of the current social and political issues taking place in the Middle East. Now, at the beginning of teaching, so at the beginning of grade 11 with my students, I really impress on them how important it is for them to keep up to date with the news. I feel like this gives them access to current affairs, things that are going on, and they can relate their understanding of different concepts and issues to very recent, up-to-date things that are happening. I would also have them consider the issue from the perspective of at least 3 stakeholders within that area. I would get them to unpack the economic issues within the region, and any other of the issues, so legal issues, and any ethical issues. So the ethics, we could look at the conflicts over water, and ethically unpack who is right and who is wrong in this situation, which obviously isn't a straightforward answer, but have the students start to look at the complexity of ethical issues like this, and how they can really impact the way in which these issues are dealt with. Then I have a potential practical idea that I could do with both HL and SL students. So I could develop a a lab class where different plants are exposed to different levels of water stress in a controlled environment, and the growth of plants over time could be monitored. Students could then conduct a relationship analysis to see how much the reduction of access to water impacts the growth of plants. And then they could obviously relate this back to plant growth, crop development, etc. So your SL students could determine ways that you could reduce the loss of water, and your HL students could look at the economics, ethics, and laws related to solutions to reduce water scarcity in different parts of the world. Okay, so now I'm going to look briefly at the HL content. So the HL content is presented directly after the SL content in each of the subtopics. It's very easy to see when you've dropped into HL content. It's all in this slightly darker background, so it's very clear when you get to this place. And obviously your SL students do not need to address this part of the chapters, so they can just sort of skip over that bit and move on to other areas. We also are applying the lenses and all of the same features throughout not only the SL but the HL content. So here we've got some TOK that is related to the freshwater. Another real world example, I think this is actually in the HL content because it's looking at some of the national policy that has been developed within New Zealand. And here is a direct unpacking of some of the ethics and the issues that there are related to that. Okay, so now what I've done is, again, I put myself in the context of what would I want as an educator who has not had the advantage of writing the book and therefore unpacking the content way before it's been available to everybody else. And I thought that a little starter or taster lesson would be really useful. So I've gone through the initial topic 1 foundation, and I selected these 3 images. I've put underneath the page in the book where they're available, so you can easily find these. And these images, I feel, represent perspectives, systems, and sustainability. So what I would do is I would print out a number of these images in sort of A4 and put them on sets of tables. I would get my students into small groups and have them do a think, pair, share activity on this. Each of them would have been given 7 minutes to look at the 3 images and to write down, excuse me, what they individually feel about each of those images in relation to their context in the environment and the issue that they are representing. Would then have them feed back to their partner and discuss obviously the similarities and differences between what they say and try to come up with some kind of agreement about what they feel about those images, and then get them to do feedback within their small group. Then those individual small groups would feed back to the group, and we would create a sort of a list of ideas, themes, etc., that come from those different images, and have a discussion as a group as to why this is what people are thinking, and then relating them to those different elements in the book. I would then give the students a provocation statement. I've chosen this one for the first lesson because I feel like without any teaching, this is an issue that most students will already have some kind of an opinion on, whether or not that is a well-founded opinion in sort of information or one that is more of just a feeling for them. Certainly most young people have an opinion on this issue. So I've written a provocation statement that meat should be a major part of the human diet. So I would split my my students into different groups for different stakeholders. So example, I could have a cattle farmer, a vegan chef, and a healthcare provider. And they need to do some research, discuss the statement in terms of their different perspectives. And then we could look at actually creating a mini debate and seeing if there are any ways that each individual group could be swayed about their opinions. Now, I unpack this because this is actually something that we unpack within the book. So here we have a number of different elements. This is unpacking the perspectives and beliefs regarding meat consumption. So this is a nice place for them to start. So it talks about the health concerns, environmental awareness, ethics, and cultural aspects. So the book leads you nicely to develop some of the elements of discussion there. It gives you some of the basic aspects that they could be talking about. Okay, so that is me. I have come to the end. I have no idea how long that has taken me. But yeah, I am ready for questions. I'm going to leave it up on this. This is the QR code for you to go to if you want to order the book. Okay, so let me just have a look and see. We appear to have no questions in the chat. If anybody has any questions they would like to drop in there now, that would be great. If not,
I just had a quick question. Is that okay?
hello. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Go ahead.
One of the things I was wondering is I haven't actually seen your book. I've seen like companion pieces, but
Yep.
For each unit, do you have like and maybe you mentioned this, had people come and go,
That's
but
okay.
do you have end of chapter or unit questions or
Yes.
things that
Yeah.
kind of, is there any way you could throw that up on the screen? What I found is one of the limitations of one of your competitors is they're all multiple choice.
Oh, right. Okay.
And the kids don't. Yeah.
I actually can't throw it up on the screen because I'd have to go through the last draft of the book that I've got. So that would take me quite some time to do. But
Okay.
yes, we do. At the end of each subtopic, we have a number of questions. They're not multiple choice. And then at the end of each chapter, we've developed a number of exam style questions, which include some 9-point questions as well.
Okay.
One of the other things that we've done is we've actually unpacked the grading criteria for the 9-point question, and we've put it in EAL friendly language as well.
Okay.
So it's one of the things that all of us as authors recognize is a difficulty for students. It's quite a difficult question for them to answer, given that they have to almost remember the rubric. So we've tried to simplify the rubric and give them lots of opportunity to have a go at answering them. There are also exam style questions in the boost content. So the final, if I can just go back to that. Oh, how do I go back? Oh, no. Oh, well, there we go. I'll just do it this way. I'm sorry, it's actually 2 a.m. in the morning right now, so I'm not 100% on it. So let me find, there we go. Okay, so So yes, this is here we have the practice. So this is the where there are a bunch of different questions. As you can see here, I've only shown you one of them because I don't want to reveal all of them, but this is a 2-point question. They're very much in the style of how the exam questions are written. We're using command terms, and they have detailed answers very much in the style of the exam style answers as well. So you would need to include this for 1 point, this for 1 point. This is what you would need for a full example. So we've tried to really unpack that. We do recognize that obviously, you know, certainly at the beginning, there's going to be no past papers. So this kind of thing is going to be really important to help the students prepare for the exam.
Your website says 50 pounds and but not yet published. Did you mention when it's going to be published or available?
It actually went to print on Tuesday, so it should be available and ready to go within 3 to 4 weeks, something like that.
4 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Summer
Which
reading.
is very exciting.
Yeah.
Yes, some summer reading. It's a good read.
Thank you.
I have to say, I've really enjoyed writing it, and I think all of the authors really have. I'm really excited about teaching this new syllabus. I think it's going to take a little bit of getting used to the HL content and kind of where to add that and how to teach it and so on. But I think once we're in the swing of things, it's going to be very, very exciting. Does anybody else have any other questions? No. Other education person whose name I've totally forgotten. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's Ian.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, Ian.
No worries at all. Okay, so yeah, if nobody else has any more questions, then we've pretty much come to the end of the webinar then in that case. So I'm going to stop the recording. So let's just we'll just double check now just to make sure definitely nobody has any more questions, because obviously once I stop the recording we can't start it again and then people miss all the questions that they would have had before. So if anyone else has any more questions, please pop them in the box or forever hold your peace. But for now, I just wanted to say thanks very much for everyone for coming along. Just a quick reminder that the recording will be sent to you by your email tomorrow anyway, along with any materials and links that are needed. And also there is a link to a feedback survey as well. I've actually put it in the chat as well. It says link to survey. So if you could feel free to fill that out, that would be absolutely fantastic. Okay, I don't think we got any more questions, so I'm going to stop the recording.